loser who couldn't sell any of his own paintings, the pregnant prostitute, and denied food and bathing and with another man's child. Church, considering him to be too eccentric, planned to commit suicide together. The strategy had actually worked. Van Gogh's ear would be fine, drowned herself, spending time with prostitutes, drinking alcohol. He knew how well paid it was. He decided to be an artist at 27 years old. At 37 years old, he died. He created more than 2,000 paintings during those years. He lived in 4 countries: Netherlands, England, Belgium and France, and knew 4 languages. The residents of Arles have signed a petition to kick Van Gogh out of the city. He didn't have any substantial education, studied art for only a couple of months at several different schools. His masterpiece has been on the top of the world's list of the most expensive paintings, but he never knew that because it was after his death. The owner of the painting wanted to be cremated with it. Vincent van Gogh, the first child of Van Gogh family, died a few days after his birth. Second child was born a year later, in the same day as the first one, March 30, and was named Vincent van Gogh as well. That's one we know. Both him and his friend, who was an artist as well, planned to commit suicide together. His last attempt to kill himself was unsuccessful because the bullet had not killed him but stayed inside. It had been in Van Gogh's body for 29 hours before Vincent had died. Okay, what we all know about Vincent van Gogh, at least from numerous movies, that he was poor. Ironic, right? Taking attention that some people now earn great money from selling goods with Van Gogh paintings on, but Van Gogh himself has sold only 1 painting during his whole life. We know about his brother Theo, and that he corresponded with him about his life, and that Theo gave him money. But why? Maybe he had some benefit from Van Gogh. Know about his bright and rich colored paintings, but Vincent's artworks were quite dark, and only perhaps after Theo told him that no one would buy such gloomy paintings, or after new paints were introduced, Vincent van Gogh changed his painting style. And paints, by the way, were so toxic you could poison rats with it, and Vincent used to eat it. Paints, not rats. And finally, his ear, of course, which he had cut off and brought to a prostitute. So what did she do to deserve that? Actually, there was some reason. And generally, prostitutes were often in his life. First, if not for that girl, Van Gogh's ear would be fine, and he wouldn't have that unique feature he was associated with. But that story is dessert. Let's talk about other ones. How come a person who wanted and nearly become an imposter started to live with a prostitute and her child? Besides that, the woman was also pregnant with another man's child. But it didn't happen all of a sudden. It was a result of a few prior love affairs. One girl turned out to be secretly engaged. Another would answer no, never to a proposal. And here is seen the pregnant prostitute that seems to like him. They raised her children, wanted to get married, but Van Gogh family was against it. Theo stopped giving money. Sin got back to work as a prostitute, and Vincent contracted syphilis from her. Shortly after, they broke up, and after some years, Sin drowned herself. But not because of Vincent, there was another reason. Van Gogh was a frequent visitor in brothels. When Theo and him lived together in Paris, they used to spend almost every evening in brothels, spending time with prostitutes, drinking alcohol. Later, in one of letters to Theo, he told that he decided to visit brothels every 2 weeks just for health. And also, these girls were cheaper than models to paint. As for the ear, there was another prostitute named Rochelle. Van Gogh and Gauguin both had been spending time with her. Once, Rochelle told Van Gogh, "I like him." "What exactly you like?" asked Vincent. "Your ears." So she got the ear after Van Gogh quarreled with Gauguin. It is hard to imagine how one can cut off one's ear by himself, but doctors said it didn't hurt him because of atrophied nerve endings caused by syphilis and other diseases. He wasn't the only one in the family with such diagnoses. Some of his relatives had epilepsy. His brothers, including Theo, had mental illnesses. His sister had died in a psychiatric hospital. Syphilis was a common disease in that time, especially in Paris. It embarrassed nobody. His diet consisted of coffee, alcohol, and cigarette to offset hunger. It affected his mind and appearance. Once a dentist had pulled 10 teeth at once. And he mentioned about unbearable pain in his ear, so maybe he wanted to cut the pain off. Now medicine recognized Van Gogh syndrome, a condition when an adult performs self-mutilation. Vincent's younger brother Theo financially supported him whole life. But why did he do that for a loser who couldn't sell any of his own paintings and wasted all money he was given to paints, prostitutes, and drinks? Isn't it wrong to encourage such a lifestyle? There is the version that explains many things. Actually, there was a deal between two brothers. Theo, who was a successful art dealer, bought canvases, paints and brushes to Vincent and paid him 2,020 francs. For example, it was twice a postman's salary. He was the one who told Vincent that nobody would buy such a dark art about peasant's life and that nothing would help to sell canvases more than if they could gain general acceptance as decoration for the middle-class houses. And their strategy had actually worked. The artistic elite from all over the Paris knew about Vincent van Gogh. He used to take part in most prestigious exhibitions with famous artists. Theo organized the personal exhibitions for Vincent while it was just a dream for another artist. So, where is that lack of recognition everyone's talking about? And as for the only one sold painting during his lifetime, There are actually at least 14 documented sales. The red vineyard at Ars was sold for 400 francs, and that was a really breakthrough in the world of serious prices for paintings. That's why it's so popular. The legend about misunderstood by Vincent van Gogh with lack of communication skills was invented by art dealer Meyer Grafen. He needed to create a good story about artists so he could sell the paintings for a better price. It was at the time no one in Germany knew Van Gogh, some years after his death, so he had written the biography from the scratch. Then everybody picked up on it. The story about his job and attempt to be a pastor has also two versions. Van Gogh worked at his uncle's art dealership since he was 16. He's been well paid, but after a girl had rejected him, he was looking for salvation in religion. It got to the point where he preached among village population and denied food and bathing and suffering with poor. But church, considering him to be too eccentric, and refused him. That's when he found himself in art. But myth pastors have different opinion. The simple one. Van Gogh wanted to be a pastor as his father, and there was a short way to get ordained. 6 months of missionary in a remote village was compulsory. But he knew the rule had changed and he couldn't get free evangelical education as intended. That's when he decided to be an artist, because as an ex-art dealer he knew how well paid it was. Vincent van Gogh was a major post-impressionist. His paintings were noted for their raw beauty, emotional honesty, and bold color. The gun that may have killed Vincent van Gogh will go to auction. A pocket revolver found in a field where Van Gogh is believed to have shot himself in the chest. It will go up for auction in June 2019 in Paris. He studied art only for copper. He didn't have any substantial. Maybe he had that. Only for copper bullets. Couple. Born a year later. His last attempt to kill himself